Chapter 22, The Rabbits Come to Help. Joe and Moonface walked boldly up to the rabbit hole. It was the one Waffles had made that day when he had gone down to inquire into things. It was clear that the robbers had discovered it and were guarding it. The shining spear moved a little, and a harsh voice cried out sharply, "Who goes there?" "This is Joe and Moonface," said Moonface. "We have come to tell you that you are making the faraway tree die because you are damaging its roots." "Pooh!" said the voice rudely. Moonface felt angry. "Don't you care whether or not you kill a tree?" he asked. "And the faraway tree too, the finest tree in the world?" "We don't care a bit," said the voice. "Why should we? We don't live in the tree. We are trolls who live underground. We don't care about trees." "Trolls?" said Moonface. "Of course. I might have guessed it. You live under the ground and work the soil there to find gold and precious stones, don't you?" "How clever you are," said the mocking voice. "Now go away, please. You can't get into the caves, nor can you stop us doing what we want to. There are plenty of precious stones here still, and until we have found them all, we shall hold these caves against any enemy." "You can have all the jewels you like, if only you won't hurt the roots of the tree," said Moonface desperately. "We can't help it," said the voice. "The roots grow through the walls and are getting in our way. We chop them off." "Good heavens! No wonder the poor tree is dying," said Joe. "Moonface, whatever are we going to do?" Moonface went a little nearer the rabbit hole. Would it be possible to bring a whole army of woodfolk and force a way down the hole, or even get the rabbits to make more holes? No, it certainly wasn't possible to get down this hole in any case. Another spear had now appeared, horribly sharp and pointed. "How did you get into the caves?" shouted Moonface, moving back a little. "The doors were always kept locked, and Pixie Longbeard had the key." "Oh, we stole it from him and got in easily," said the voice with a laugh. "Then we locked the doors on this side so that no one else could get in. We've been here a week now and nobody knew till that interfering rabbit came along. Wait till we get him. We'll deal with him all right." Waffles fled to the back of the listening party, terrified. "It's all right," said Silky. "We won't let them get you, Waffles. Don't be afraid." Moonface and Joe went back to the others. "I don't see what we can do," whispered Moonface. "All the doors are locked, and we certainly can't get keys to unlock them, for the one Pixie Longbeard had was the only one that could unlock those cave doors. And the trolls are guarding that rabbit hole too well for us to get down it. Even at night there will be someone there to guard it." "Do you think we could get the rabbits to tunnel silently somewhere else?" said Joe. "If only they could make a way for us somewhere, we could all pour in and surprise the trolls." "It's about the only thing to do," said Moonface. "What do you think, What's-its-name?" "I think the same," said What's-its-name. "If we can get the rabbits to make a really big hole, we could do something to surprise the trolls. It's the only way we can get into the caves, isn't it?" "Yes," said Moonface thoughtfully. "Well, we'd better get to work at once. Where's Waffles?" "Here, Moonface," said the rabbit eagerly. "Here I am. What can I do? I daren't go down that hole I made, so don't ask me to." "I won't," said Moonface. "It was brave of you to go the first time. What I want you to do, Waffles, is to go and round up all the biggest and strongest rabbits in the wood and get them here. Then we'll set them to work quickly on a burrow that must come right up in the very centre of the jewel caves. Maybe the robbers won't expect us to force a way there. They will expect us to come through the walls, not under the floor of the caves." "Right, Moonface," said the rabbit, and sped off, his white bobtail bobbing up and down as he went down the tunnel. It was rather dull waiting for the rabbits to come. The lantern nearby gave only a faint light. Moonface told everyone to speak in the lowest of whispers. "I'm hungry," whispered Connie. What's its name gave a little giggle. "I've got some toffee shocks," he said. "Do you like toffees, Connie?" "Oh, yes," said Connie, pleased. "What's a toffee shock? I've never heard of one before." What's its name was holding out a paper bag to Connie. The others watched. They knew toffee shocks, which were very peculiar. As soon as you began to suck a toffee shock, it grew bigger. It grew, and it grew, and it grew, till it completely filled your mouth and you couldn't say a word. Then, very suddenly, it burst into nothing, and your mouth was empty. Connie took 2. Gosh, what would happen? One was bad enough, but 2 toffee shocks would give her something to remember. She popped the toffees into her mouth. Everyone watched her. Beth began to giggle. Connie sucked hard. "It's funny," she thought. "The more I suck, the bigger they seem to be. Gosh, they're getting enormous." They were. They swelled up, as they always did, and filled Connie's mouth completely so that she couldn't speak or chew. She stared at the others in horror. "Gulp, gulp, gulp," said Connie in fright, her eyes almost falling out of her head. Her cheeks were puffed out with the swollen toffees, and her tongue was squashed at the bottom of her mouth. Just as she thought she really couldn't bear it for one moment more, the toffee shocks exploded and went to nothing. Connie stood in the greatest surprise. Her mouth was empty. Where had the toffees gone? She hadn't swallowed them. The others burst into giggles. Connie was really cross. "What a nasty trick to play on me," she said to What's-its-name, glaring at him. "Well, you should have only taken 1, not 2, said What's-its-name, wiping the tears of laughter from his eyes. 1 toffee shock is fun, but 2 must be awful." "Shh, shh," said Moonface. "Don't let the trolls know we are still here. They will be on watch if they think we are." "Well, I think it would be a very good thing to stay here and make a noise," whispered Silky. "Then the trolls will guard this hole and keep their attention on us, which will give the rabbits a chance to burrow unheard." "Silky's right," said Joe. "We'll talk loudly and make a noise. Then perhaps when the rabbits do their burrowing under the floor of the caves, the trolls won't notice it." So they all began to talk and laugh loudly. A third spear appeared at the entrance of the hole, and a voice said, "If you're thinking of getting down here, think again." "Your spears won't stop us when we charge down that hole," yelled Moonface, which made a fourth spear appear, shining brightly. In a little while, a whole army of rabbits appeared at the back of the passage, jostling one another, headed by Waffles, who was bursting with pride again. "I've brought them," he said. "Here they all are, the biggest and strongest." Moonface told them what he wanted them to do. "We want you to make a passage right under the caves," he said, "so that it comes up in the floor. The trolls won't be expecting that. Whilst you're doing it, I'll send a message to the pixies in the wood to come and help us to burst through the tunnel you make as soon as it's finished." As the rabbits began to burrow rapidly downwards, Moonface decided to send Silky, Franny, Beth and Connie back up the tree so that they could send out the message to the pixies in the wood. "Oh, but we want to see what happens," said Beth. "We'll tell you what happens as soon as we know," promised Joe. "Silky, can you send a message to the pixies when you get above ground?" "I will," said Silky, and she and the 3 girls made their way back up the burrow and into the wood. They met a pixie and gave him the message to get a small army together. The rabbits burrowed quickly and silently down into the earth, down and down and down. When they knew they were right underneath the centre of the jewel caves, they began to burrow up again, up and up and up. They meant to come up just in the middle of the floor of the centre cave. Pixies poured down into the tunnel. Everyone followed the rabbits closely, meaning to rush the caves as soon as the tunnel broke through the floor. But it was not to be. When the rabbits had burrowed upwards to the caves, they came to a stop. Something hard and solid was above them. They couldn't burrow into it. "What is it?" whispered Moonface anxiously. "Let me feel." He felt. "It's heavy blocks of stones," he groaned. "Of course, the floor of the caves is paved with stone. I'd forgotten that. We can't possibly get through. I'm so sorry, rabbits. All your work has been for nothing." "Ha ha, ho ho," suddenly came the distant sound of laughter. "We heard you burrowing. You didn't know the floors were made of stone. Ha ha, ho ho." "Horrid trolls," said Moonface, as they all made their way back down the tunnel. What can we do now? Chapter 23, The Land of Knowles. "We'd better get back up the tree and tell Silky and the others we failed," said Moonface gloomily. "It looks to me as if the poor old faraway tree is done for. It's very, very sad." They all went back up the tree, and the pixies returned to their homes in the wood. Silky and the girls were very upset to hear that the rabbits hadn't been able to get through the floors of the caves. "Heavy stone there," said Joe. "No one could burrow through that or even move it. It's bad luck. There's no other way of getting down to the caves at all." Everyone sat and thought. Nobody could think of any plan at all. "It isn't that we're stupid," said Moonface. "It's just that it's impossible. I suppose we couldn't ask anyone in the Land of Knowles for help, could we?" said Dame Washalop at last. "The Land of Knowles? Is that at the top of the tree now?" said Moonface, looking excited. "Yes, didn't you know?" said Dame Washalop. "I went up there this morning to find out how to do my washing in cold water when I can't get enough hot. I found out all right too. There's nothing they don't know up there." "Goodness. Perhaps they know how to get down into the caves then," said Moonface. "Or maybe they could give us a key to open the doors." "That wouldn't be much use," said Joe. "You could be sure the trolls have put guards at the doors in case we thought of that. They are well armed too. It is only by taking them completely by surprise that we could defeat them." "That's true," said Moonface. "Well, what about going up into the Land of Knowles? We might get some good advice. There are only 5 Knowles, and between them, they know everything." "Oh, do let's go now, this very minute," said Connie impatiently. "All right, we will," said Joe, and he got up. "I'll go and finish my washing," said Dame Washalot, "and you had better see if your cakes are burning, Mrs. Saucepan. You left some in the oven." "My goodness, so I did," said old Mrs. Saucepan, and climbed quickly down the tree. The rest of them wanted to go into the Land of Knowles, even the angry pixie, who didn't often go into any of the strange lands. They all went up the topmost branch and climbed up the yellow ladder through the cloud. They came out into the Land of Knowles. It was a small land, so small that it looked as if anyone could fall off the edge quite easily here and there. In the very middle of it, on a steep hill, rose a magnificent glittering palace with so many thousands of windows that it looked like one big shining diamond. From the middle of the palace rose a tremendously tall tower. The children and the others went up 200 steps to the great front door. Then they saw about 1,000 attendants lining the hall inside, all dressed in blue and silver. They all bowed to the little company at once, looking like a blue and silver cornfield blown by the wind. So gracefully did they bow at the same moment together. "What is your wish?" said the 1,000 attendants, sounding like a wind whispering. "We want to see the Knowles," said Moonface. "They are in the tall tower," said the attendants. Then 100 of them took the little party to what looked like a small room, but which was really a lift. 99 attendants bowed them in. One got in with them and pulled a silver rope. The children and the others gasped as the lift shot up the tower. It went so fast. Up and up and up it went till the children thought they would land on the moon. At last the lift slowed down and stopped. The door slid open. The children saw that they had come to the top of the tall tower. It was surrounded on all sides by wide windows, and the children gasped again as they looked out. It looked as if they could see the whole world from those windows. Oceans, seas, lands spread out on each side of them and lay glittering in the brightest sunlight they had ever known. Then they saw the 5 Noels. They were strange, wonderful, and peculiar folk, so old that they had forgotten their youth, so wise that they knew everything. Only their calm, mysterious eyes moved in their old, old faces. One of them spoke, and his voice came from very far away, or so it seemed. You have come to ask for advice. You want to know how to get into the jewel caves. How does he know? Whispered Connie to Joe in amazement. Well, he is a Noel, said Joe. Shh, don't talk now, listen. Moonface stood before the wise Noel and spoke to him. The faraway tree is dying. It is because there are trolls in the jewel caves underground, cutting the roots that give the great tree its life. How, please, Noel, can we get down to the caves and stop them? The wise Noel shut his gleaming, mysterious eyes, as if he was thinking or remembering something. He opened them again and looked at Moonface. There is only one way. Your slippery slip goes to the foot of the tree, down its centre, bore down still further from your slippery slip, and you will come out at last right under the tree in the centre of its tangled roots. Then you can surprise the trolls and overcome them. Everyone looked thrilled. Of course, if only they could make the slippery slip go deeper down and down and down, they would come out in the middle of the roots. It was a marvellous idea. Thank you so much, wise Noel, said Moonface. Thank you. We will go straight away and follow your advice. The little group of friends bowed to the 5 strange Noels with their calm, mysterious eyes. Then they stepped into the lift, and the little attendant pulled on the silver rope. Oh! Gasped everyone as the lift moved swiftly downwards. It really seemed as if it was falling. It slowed down at last, and the children and everyone else walked out into the vast hall. Down the steps they went, and back to the hole in the cloud, feeling excited and a little strange. The 5 Noels always made people feel strange. Well, said Moonface when they were safely in his curved room and were beginning to feel a little more ordinary. Well, now we know what to do. The next thing is, how do we bore a hole down through the rest of the tree to its roots? I haven't any tools big enough to do that. You know, said Silky suddenly, you know, Moonface, there is a caterpillar belonging to a goat moth that bores tunnels in the trunks of trees. I know because I've seen one. It had made quite a burrow in the wood of the tree, and it lived there by itself till it was time to come out and turn into a chrysalis. Then, of course, it changed into a big goat moth. Surely you don't think that a little caterpillar could burrow down this big tree, said Joe. Well, if Moonface could get about 12 of these goat moth caterpillars and could make them ever so much bigger, they could easily eat their way down and make way for us, said Silky. Moonface slapped his knee hard and made everyone jump. Silky's got the right idea, he said. That's just what we will do. We can easily make the caterpillars large. Then they can burrow down fast Silky, you're really very clever. Silky blushed. It wasn't often she had better ideas than Moonface, but this time she really had thought of something good. Now we'll have to find out where any goat moth caterpillars are, said Moonface. What tree do they usually burrow in, Silky? There is one in the big elm tree, and 2 or 3 in the willows by the stream, and some in the poplars at the other side of the wood, said Silky. I'll go and get them if you like. They smell a bit horrid, you know. Yes, like goats, don't they, said What's-its-name. They're funny creatures. They live for 3 years in the trunks of trees, eating the wood. Funny taste some creatures have. Go and get some, Silky. Take a box with you. Silky sped off on her errand, taking a big box from Moonface's curved cupboard. Joe looked at the time. I really think we should go, Moonface, he said. It's getting very late. I suppose Silky will bring back the caterpillars soon, and you'll make them enormous and set them to work tonight. We'll come back tomorrow morning and see how you're getting on. I shall rub the caterpillars with growing magic when Silky brings them, said Moonface, but it will take them all night to grow to the right size. I shall probably set them to work after breakfast, Joe, so come then. Joe and the girls slid down the slippery slip, shot out of the trapdoor and made their way home. They were tired, but very thrilled. How they hoped they could defeat those trolls and perhaps save the dear old faraway tree. We'll go back tomorrow, first thing after breakfast, said Joe. I expect old Moonface will have worked out some brilliant plan by then. I only hope we punish those bad trolls properly. Fancy not caring if they killed the faraway tree or not. I can hardly wait for tomorrow, sighed Connie. I really don't think I can. But she had to, of course. And tomorrow came at last, as it always does. What was going to happen then? Chapter 24, A Surprise for the Trolls. Next morning, immediately after an early breakfast, the 4 children set off to the faraway tree. They felt sad when they got near it and saw how much more withered the leaves were. It looks almost dead already, said Joe miserably. I don't believe we can save it, even if we defeat the trolls today. They climbed up. Moonface and Silky were waiting for them in the curved room. With them in the room were some very peculiar-looking creatures, 11 goat moth caterpillars. They were great pinkish-coloured caterpillars with black heads. A broad band of chocolate brown ran down their long backs. They were really enormous, like long, fat snakes. Hello, said Moonface, beaming round. The caterpillars are nearly ready. I rubbed them with the growing magic last night, and they have grown steadily ever since. They're almost ready to go down the slippery slip now and start eating the wood away at the bottom, to go right down into the roots of the tree. The caterpillars didn't say a word. They just looked at the children with big, solemn eyes and twitched their many legs. I think they're ready, said Moonface. Now, Joe, listen. The caterpillars are going to burrow away for us right through the bottom part of the trunk of the tree into the heart of its roots. They're going to crawl out and frighten the trolls who will probably run away. Then our job is to rush after them and capture them. All the pixies are ready at the foot of the tree. They are going to climb in through the trapdoor as soon as the caterpillars have gone down into the roots. Everyone listened to this long speech and thought the plan was excellent. Moonface gave a cushion to the biggest goat moth caterpillar, who curled himself up on it. Then off it whizzed down to the foot of the tree, followed by all the others, one after another. The children gave the caterpillars a little time to burrow and then followed them down the slippery slip. When they got to the trapdoor, they shot out and saw lots of pixies waiting there. Moonface climbed back in through the trapdoor and looked by the light of a lamp to see what had become of the caterpillars. All he could see was a tunnel eaten out, going down and down into the roots. They're going fast, he said, looking out of the trapdoor. Out of sight already. My word, fancy being able to eat wood like that. Soon Moonface reported that he thought they might all follow down the way the caterpillars had made. Their strong jaws made easy work of the wood of the tree, and they were now almost at the bottom among the roots. It was time to follow them and help to surprise the trolls. Moonface, Saucepan, Mr. What's-his-name, the angry pixie, Joe, and all the other pixies from the wood crept down the hole. Sometimes it was as steep as a slippery slip and they slid. It was dark, but everyone was too excited to mind. Silky, Franny, Beth, Connie and Silky waited impatiently by the trap door. The caterpillars came to the end of the enormous trunk and found themselves in a tangle of great rope-like roots going down and down. They crawled among them with Moonface holding on to the tail end of the last one so as not to lose away. They came out into the very middle of the biggest cave. There was no one there, though the sound of distant hammering or digging could be heard. No trolls to be seen, whispered Moonface to the others. Shh, I can hear some coming now. Moonface and the others slipped back into the tangle of roots, but the great snake-like caterpillars went crawling on. Just as they came to the entrance of the cave, two trolls came in, almost falling over the caterpillars. They gave a yell. Oh, snakes! Run, run, snakes! They ran off screaming. The caterpillars solemnly followed, all 11 of them in a line. They met more trolls, and every one of them ran away shrieking, for they were really afraid of snakes, and they certainly thought these enormous caterpillars were some dreadful kind of snake. After them, cried Moonface, and waving a strong stick in the air, he led the way into the jewel caves. In one corner was a great pile of glittering jewels. The trolls had found a fortune down there. The trolls were shouting to one another, "The caves are full of snakes! Hide! Hide!" The robbers crowded into a cave, put a great stone at the entrance, and pressed against it to prevent the caterpillars from entering. When Moonface came up, he lowered his big stick and grinned round at the others. Our work is easy. They've shut themselves in, and we can easily make them prisoners. Who's there? Called a troll, hearing Moonface's voice. The enemy, said Moonface. You are our prisoners. Come out now, and we will keep off the snakes. If you don't give yourselves up, we will push away the stone and let the snakes in. Joe giggled. It was funny to think that anyone should be so afraid of caterpillars. The creatures were quite enjoying themselves, crawling round and about, getting in everyone's way. We'll come out, said the troll's leader after talking to his men, but keep off those snakes. Hold the caterpillars, you others, whispered Moonface. Now all together, heave away the stone. The trolls came out looking very scared. They were glad to see that the snakes were being held back by Joe and the others. The pixies at once surrounded them and bound their hands behind their backs. We'll keep them in prison till next week when the land of punishment comes back again, said the head pixie with a grin. Then we'll push them all up the ladder and see that they don't come down. They can move off with the land of punishment. It would do them good to live there for the rest of their lives. Moonface stayed down in the caves while the pixies found the key, unlocked the doors and marched out the frightened trolls. They were strange-looking folk with large heads, small bodies and large limbs. Let's have a look round and see what damage has been done to the tree, said Moonface. Just look. See how they've chopped that root in half and cut this one and spoilt that one. The poor tree. No wonder it began to wither and die. What can we do for it? Said Joe anxiously. And that's where I'm going to leave it.